Greetings from the Cheating Story Lab. Share your location and let me know where you're tuning in from. You recall that stinging sensation when someone doubts your integrity as a parent, when they challenge your commitment. That's a hurt that penetrates more profoundly than any blade, and it's an injury that never truly mends. Yet, on rare occasions, the truth can unexpectedly emerge. My name is Trevor, and this is the account of how 2 decades of diligent record-keeping culminated into the most fulfilling 60 seconds of my life. It commenced in 2003 when my union with Veronica disintegrated. We were parents to 2 enchanting children, Madison, who was 8, and Connor, who was 6. The divorce was tumultuous, as most are, but I believed we could at least maintain civility for the sake of our offspring. I erred in that assumption on numerous occasions back then. The custody agreement appeared simple enough. Veronica obtains primary custody, while I get them every other weekend and alternating holidays. Child support is set at $800 a month, exceeding the state guidelines. But this doesn't bother me because they are my children. I've consistently provided for their needs beyond court-ordered payments, occasionally more. For instance, when Madison required braces, I covered half without being asked, and when Connor wanted to play hockey, I purchased all his gear. Birthdays, school supplies, medical bills. I've been present, both financially and emotionally. However, Veronica's family, particularly her mother Patricia and brother Kyle, portrayed me as the antagonist from the start. They gossiped about me at school events, insinuating that I was irresponsible and only appeared when it suited me. The hardest part was witnessing my children doubt due to their influence. They began questioning my actions too. 12-year-old Madison inquired about you. Dad, Mom says you don't contribute financially. During a weekend visit, I demonstrated this by revealing my bank statements on the kitchen table. Look at this, $800 every month, sometimes more, I explained. She appeared comforted, but the seeds of suspicion had already been sown, and over time, the negative narrative grew stronger. Veronica remarried Brian, a seemingly decent man, but Patricia and Kyle treated him as if he were the paternal figure my children had lacked. At Connor's high school graduation, during the family dinner, Kyle publicly thanked Brian for being the father Connor never had. Stunned, I sat in silence while my son felt uncomfortable yet didn't correct him. The turning point occurred last year. Connor was marrying his college sweetheart, Lisa, and of course I wanted to be part of this significant day for him. 3 weeks before the wedding, Veronica phoned with an ultimatum. Trevor, it's time we discuss the wedding costs. Despite Brian and I handling most expenses, we think you should contribute more due to the limited support you've given over the years, she asserted. Limited support? I found her statement hard to fathom. Veronica, I've never missed a payment. Not once, and I've covered extra costs too. That's not how I remember things, she retorted coldly. It turned out that Patricia believed I had skipped several years of payments, while Kyle claimed he frequently lent aid when I wasn't dependable. This was when the bombshell was dropped. If you can't financially contribute to Connor's wedding, perhaps you shouldn't have such a significant role in it. We're considering having Brian walk him down the aisle instead of you. At my own son's wedding, they suggested replacing me. I said, trying to reach Connor directly, but finding him conflicted. Everyone seems to have varying opinions about our financial situation. Perhaps it would be best if we just simplify matters. That evening, I retreated to my home office and began sifting through files. Given my profession as an accountant, maintaining records is second nature to me. Over the past 20 years, I had preserved every bank statement, canceled check, and money order receipt. Each transaction was meticulously documented, dated, and stored away. As I organized these papers on my desk, a pattern became apparent that even took me by surprise. Contrary to the $800 monthly payment requirement, I found that my average contribution over 2 decades was closer to $1,200 per month. When accounting for additional expenses, it turned out I had contributed over $300,000 to my children's upbringing. Yet, they still labeled me a deadbeat. However, the situation grew even more disheartening as I unearthed something that made my blood run cold. Hidden within these records was evidence of further financial contributions that I had never claimed credit for, amounting to an additional $100,000 or so. For several months, I unknowingly made double payments for child support, once automatically through my bank and once manually via check. as Veronica alleged the initial payment didn't reach her. It appears she had been double-dipping for years. The next morning, I contacted my divorce lawyer, Jim Rodriguez, to discuss potential irregularities in the child support situation. Upon examining the evidence, he remained silent for a considerable time before stating, "Trevor, this isn't merely family drama anymore. It could be fraud, potentially severe fraud." Consequently, we filed a motion with the family court to scrutinize the child support history and reconcile the payments. Veronica's attorney attempted to dismiss it as an attempt by a disgruntled father, but Judge Martinez ordered a full hearing. The hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning in October. I arrived early, carrying 3 briefcases filled with supporting documentation. Jim assisted me in arranging everything into a clear timeline for the judge. Veronica arrived accompanied by Brian, Patricia, and Kyle, her solid support group. They settled on one side of the courtroom as if attending Connor's wedding, appearing self-assured and united. Patricia even offered me a smug smile that suggested, "Good luck, but you're about to be put in your place." Connor and Madison were present as well, looking uneasy yet intrigued. This was the first time they would witness the actual evidence of their father's financial provisions over the years. Judge Martinez initiated the hearing and requested Veronica's attorney to introduce their case first. Catherine Wells, a sharp lawyer, stood up with a thin folder and addressed the court. "Your Honor, Mr. Trevor Bennett is trying to rewrite history. Our records indicate multiple missed payments, notably during the years 2008 to 2012, when he claims to have been facing business difficulties. In various instances, Bennett's family intervened to fulfill the children's requirements. Presented were several documents appearing to verify missed payments." Patricia gave a nod of approval from the gallery, and subsequently, it was our turn. Jim rose and maneuvered a cart containing our 3 cases towards us. "Your Honor," he began, "we possess a comprehensive financial history that paints a strikingly different picture." Opening the first case, he started to withdraw bank statements, categorized by year and month. "Let's begin with 2003 and proceed forward," he continued. For the subsequent 30 minutes, Jim meticulously reviewed every single payment, not just the sums but the dates, methods, and even the memos on checks that frequently stated things like "for Madison's school clothes" or Connor's hockey registration. The courtroom grew progressively quieter as the evidence accumulated. First, Patricia's smile waned. Then Kyle ceased whispering to Brian. Even Veronica's legal representative seemed increasingly uneasy. The decisive instant arrived as Jim unveiled the second case, commencing his demonstration of the redundant payments. "Court, during our examination, we found a concerning matter. For 17 months, Mr. Bennett made 2 payments." He methodically displayed the proof: bank documents detailing automated transactions, then copies of hand-delivered checks for the same time frames and sums. Each check bore Veronica's signature on the reverse side. Judge Martinez leaned closer. "Are you implying that Mrs. Bennett intentionally accepted duplicate payments?" "We are submitting the evidence, Your Honor, allowing the court to make its own deductions." The third case held all extra costs: medical bills, school supplies, sports equipment, graduation gifts. Every receipt, every credit card statement, every wire transfer. The accumulated sum was astonishing. Once Jim concluded his presentation, the courtroom fell silent. Judge Martinez glanced towards Veronica and inquired, "What is your response to this evidence?" Catherine Wells appeared uncomfortable. "Your Honor, we require time to examine these documents and formulate a reply." "Ms. Wells, these are bank records and canceled checks. They speak for themselves. Isn't there any question about their authenticity?" Veronica eventually replied, her voice quivering. "Some of those additional payments were gifts, not support, and the duplicated payments were mistakes that I was going to rectify." Judge Martinez remained unconvinced. "Ms. Bennett, these repeated payments extend over several years. Are you suggesting you didn't notice receiving double child support for years?" The ensuing quietness was profound as Kyle attempted to interject from the audience. "To Your Honor, respectfully speaking, you are not involved in this trial. Kindly refrain from speaking or risk being escorted out." Patricia tugged Kyle backwards, evident fear in their expressions. The case's foundation was collapsing moment by moment. Judge Martinez scrutinized the evidence for another 20 minutes prior to declaring his verdict. It appears that Mr. Bennett not only met but surpassed his child support obligations, as per the presented records. The evidence indicates possible fraud due to accepted and retained duplicate payments. He instructed Veronica to return the excess payments with interest amounting to nearly $30,000 and officially acknowledged an overpayment of approximately $80,000 in child support over the past 2 decades. However, the relief was not merely monetary. It was the validation that mattered most. Upon exiting the courtroom, Connor approached me, his eyes brimming with tears. Madison was also crying and said, "Dad, I'm really sorry. I should have trusted you. I should have known. They had believed the accusations against you, Dad. The wedding took place without any hindrance, and yes, I walked my son down the aisle. At the reception, Patricia and Kyle barely spoke to me, while Brian, in fairness, approached me and apologized for his unwitting role in the narrative against you. Veronica never directly apologized, but stopped the regular family gatherings where she would badmouth you to anyone who listened. The truth eventually ended those conversations permanently. 6 months later, Connor called on a Sunday morning. "Dad," he said, "I've been thinking about everything that happened. How did you manage to keep all those records so perfectly for 20 years? I smiled as I responded over the phone. "Son, when someone questions your integrity as a father, you ensure you have every piece of evidence. The main point isn't simply about maintaining accurate records, essential as it is. It's about the significance of persistence. Falsehoods can control the narrative for years, even generations. People can fabricate tales, distort circumstances, and even turn your own offspring against you. Nevertheless, the reality patiently waits. It doesn't hasten. Instead, it bides its time until the opportune moment to unveil itself. In due course, when all those meticulously kept records are exposed, when the facts outweigh the rumors and allegations, that's when vindication tastes the sweetest. 20 years of being branded a deadbeat dad were erased in mere seconds by irrefutable evidence. I still keep those briefcases in my office. They may no longer be needed, but they serve as a reminder of something crucial. Your reputation might be tarnished, your intentions may be questioned, but your records don't deceive. Thank you for tuning into Cheating Story Lab. If the tale strikes a chord with you, pass it along to someone who could benefit from it. Also, make sure to retain your records. They may prove useful at some point.